Welcome back, everybody. It's Jack Graham and John Pedersen with another podcast of We Talk Photo. And we're going to talk photo and some other things today with two special guests who have new books. One is currently shipping and one is going to ship really soon. And the two of them are two of our dearest friends, Colleen Miniuk and Guy Tal.
Hey, Jack. Hi, John. Thanks for
Hello.
having us.
Hi, welcome.
It's
Thank you.
always, I don't mean to demean the rest of the people that we have on this podcast. I love them all, but
Oh,
Guy just has a special place for me and Colleen, you too, and it's
Thank
great having you here. And we want to talk about you guys and what has evolved here recently in terms of your writing and some other things. So thank you for being here. And John, how are you doing? All right.
doing great, Jack. Doing great. Yep.
John lost his air conditioning at 101
you.
degrees.
Oh yeah. If you guys want any tips on good luck, just come seek me out.
Yeah.
I'm good. No, we're all good and just getting ready to kick off workshops again in August, and life is wonderful.
It is. Anyhow, so let's see. Colleen, your book is out. Your new
Indeed.
book is out. So I think everybody knows who you are. You've been on enough. And so just tell us about this book. It's really a cool idea and a cool book.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on again. I love talking with you guys, and it's a special treat to be here with my dear friend Guy. So yeah, so said the river, life, loss, and pie is alive and well and and out there in the world doing its thing. And so said the river is really a story about finding fulfillment through adversity. And kind of the elevator pitch is that for 40 years I pursued perfection, achievement, and societal expectations in hopes of, finding some success, which I did, checking all the boxes of society. I had a very, very productive and very accomplished early life, but I thought that I was doing all these things to find happiness, and I wasn't finding happiness. And then my husband and I decided to separate in 2015. And that was like very, very tragic for me. Like that was the ultimate, strike against perfectionism and this perfect life. And so I decided to stand up paddleboard across Lake Powell to find some self-worth. My mother came with me. And like life, the trip didn't go according to plan, which at the time was very, very difficult for me to process. In hindsight, it was the absolute best thing that could have happened to us. And so the story, the book is kind of divided into three parts, down upstream, in the flow, and then downstream. And in the downstream parts of it, I really find how to be happy, how to live every day in a meaningful, deliberate way, through adversity, through the waves and the storms. And I find that happily ever after looks really different than what we've been told, what I've told myself, and what society expected of me as a female. And so it's the whole journey. And so yeah, I hope it inspires people to find their own life. And one of the things that comes up in the book with Guy is a character in the book. We talk very early on in that process in 2015, right after, just like a month after my separation happened. And he talked about, this is your chance to live your big life with a capital L. And of course, at that time, you're like, I don't know what that is. Like, I don't know who I am. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's happening in my life. This is chaos. And just to be able to find that big life with a capital L, that's something that Guy really helped me with. And I know that Guy lives his own big life. I think all four of us live our own big lives. And that's why we get along so well.
Yeah.
And
True,
so, yeah.
true, true.
So
Well,
Colleen, you were sort of, you had this scenario thrust upon you, I think, through your situation, and you've come out the other side in this incredible place. Do you for those that don't have these other stimuli that are forcing them to have this big life change, do you think you would have gotten there without some of this external things happening?
That's hard to say. It's unfortunate that it took, running into a wall literally on Lake Powell for, hours and watching my mom die. Like, I really wish, almost die. She didn't die. I'm sorry. Almost die. And so I don't, I wouldn't wish that upon anybody, but that certainly straightened me out. I mean, I think when you face near death, or someone you love is facing near death, I think it really changes your priorities and changing your thinking. I think those who are maybe not going through tragedy, which again, I hope nobody's going through tragedy, to get to this point, I think you can get there with an incredible amount of self-awareness, in terms of what you're saying to yourself, looking at your decisions and making sure that they are supporting your goals, your values, your intuitions, your desires, and really paying attention to the voices that you're incorporating into your life. I think there's also parts about, not comparing yourself to others, being grateful for what you have, not sad for what you lack, and understanding that there is really no meaning to all of this. And that's part of the existentialism that Guy and I we talk a lot about, and our books are very similar in that vein, is that it's really up to us to create the meaning. And we're not going to not face struggles. Like, we're going to have hard times, and that's okay. Like, I know that I spent a lot of time like trying to bury, my separation and the shame, and like, oh my God, like nobody can know about this. And then like nobody can know about the Lake Powell thing. And like, it was like just this facade. And I was trying to get rid of the bad. And instead, when I came to accept it and make meaning out of it, like that's when the fulfillment happened. That's when growth happened. I legitimately thought that I was going to get through my life without problems, like, which is insane. And I thought nobody else had problems. And so I was just trying to keep up with everybody else in these perfect little lives. And it turns out that we all struggle. And that's part of life. That actually like kind of makes life a little bit richer, is when we have these struggles. How do we get out of them? How do we move forward? How do we become different, better people when we're faced with this adversity?
Exactly. I had some adversity early on in life as well, and I have become so thankful for that experience. As painful as it was,
Right.
I have turned out to be such a more enlightened, enriched individual because of it. And I look forward. I hate to say it, but I sort of enjoy adversity from the standpoint of is I know it's going to be a growth activity.
Mm.
As long as I make it through, it's going to be a growth activity. So it'll be a good thing, as sucky as it is in the moment.
John is so correct that we see a lot of people on our workshops, and over the years we meet thousands of people, and we meet people who appear to be happy and wealthy and smiling, and life is but I've got to tell you, when that front door closes, and if you could dig that, everybody's got something going on.
Yeah, there was a guy named Ian McLaren. He said something very profound. He said, "Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a great battle."
Exactly.
Everybody
Ain't
has
that
a
the truth? Ain't that
So,
the
Guy,
truth? The other comment as you were talking, Colleen, that I really enjoyed too is that in moments of adversity, a lot of the facade of our society and expectations sort of gets stripped away, right? We don't need to be concerned with mowing the grass and what people think and vacation time and all of this, all of those things that we think are so important in our day-to-day life fall by the wayside, and we really see the purity of what life is often about.
correct.
Yeah.
I had a moment on the Grand Canyon. I describe it in chapter 18, where I am in the most epic of places, like, and it is disconnected from society. So I don't have the pressures of emails and news and napkins and showers and things. And so I come to the realization that like this is so grand. Like that, how in the world do we think how we load the dishwasher matters? Like the dishwasher matters, like how, and why does it matter what size jeans we wear? And like, why does it matter that my eyeshadow like matches my blush? Like there's just some minutia there that, I mean, I just threw right into the river. Like it's just like we don't need these things. Like there's much, much greater, deeper meaning to life than how I load the dishwasher.
Mm-hmm. So, Colleen, does your book so because this is a photography podcast, I mean, how do you relate your book and your story to photography?
Well, it's funny because I do describe there. It's actually I'm with Guy. I'm trying to figure out which chapter it is. Chapter it's Fingers in the Water, chapter 15, where I'm with Guy in Escalante, and I come to the realization that my photography journey like was what I needed to do with my life. And so I had found flow with my photography journey. I had kind of a moment in 2013 where I got very, very stuck with photography. Before 2013, I was doing a lot of like just putting my tripod in other people's tripod holes, and I was chasing quote good light, and I was really unfulfilled with photography. And when I started learning about the Wallace model of creativity and conceptual blending and flow and some of these other concepts that led to more self-expression, that self-expression can come from photography, but that's like our whole life is a performance, like that we are here to express ourselves. And so in chapter 15, when Guy and I are hanging out in Escalante, I realize that I've been doing this. Like I've been doing this with photography, and there's no reason why I can't adopt it for my own life. Like going out without having expectations, like not really caring about results. And that's really hard for someone who's been, overachiever her whole life, is like to just live life without these expectations, the burden of expectations, and just like enjoy it. Like just have some like just fun. Like, like
I think when that was happening, I actually asked her, "Are you having fun?" And suddenly she just had
yeah.
this, "Oh my God, I'm actually having fun."
Yeah. And you'd said something about, well, and I said, well, I am. And you're like, well, then it's worth it. And I was like, is it? And like, of course it was. Like in that moment, Guy and I were photographing leaves in a little stream, and we were losing our minds. And it absolutely was, whether I made a photograph of that or not. Like, and that's, I think, for all of us here, we approach photography in an experience-based way. Like the experience matters. The photographs are just things that are byproducts of a very rich experience that helps our life, but also, maybe comes out in a photograph. Maybe it comes out in a song, like, in Jack's case, maybe he goes plays a composition and like, or an interpretive dance. So it's, in John's case, yes, John does the interpretive dances. Yes. Yeah. So I think expression can come in a lot of forms, and I'm very grateful to photography for leading me in that direction. I'm obviously very grateful to Guy as well, but I'm glad that I had that experience with photography first, so that I knew really how to do it with my life in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just going to say something here, and I hope I don't make, for those of you on YouTube, I hope Guy doesn't blush when I say this. But I consider Guy one of my closest friends in the world. We don't talk every day, but we know where each other is, and I could always find him if I need him, and he does the same. Um, when I tell people, they go, "Oh, you know Guy Tal?" Because Guy is at the top of the food chain as far
He's
as I can.
famous.
And
Yeah.
well, the famous is not important, but he's recognized in this industry as
Yes.
as a top person in this photography world. But it's funny. I tell people, I said, some of the stuff that I've gotten from Guy Tal has nothing to do with photography. I mean, 10 years ago, Guy, we sat in the Sierra at 2 o'clock in the morning. I won't say what we were drinking, but we talked about stuff had nothing to do with photography.
Right.
I won't say we
That-
were not drinking.
no, but yeah, but I got so much out of that. And to Colleen's point, the photography is just an ends. It's a way to do something that's meaningful to you. But what you get out of it is way beyond the beautiful photograph like you have in your background here
For
and
sure.
stuff that we see. And
Well,
I
thank you guys very much. Yeah.
thank Guy for that. Guy, let's talk about you just
Yeah.
for a minute.
Well, first of all, thanks to you for
I mean that.
very very kind words, and and I guess maybe I shouldn't confess it, but it's true. There are many people. I'm usually pretty solitary person, so for me to have gotten to share outdoor times with you and to actually camp with you, I mean that's where I'm in my element. That those are always very special time for me when I get to share these experiences. And it's actually kind of funny going back to our books, both Colleen's book and mine book. Uh, I realized maybe a little too late that between both of these books, I think people are going to get a deeper view into my life than I've made public before. So,
Hmm.
but that's
Yeah.
uh,
I've tarnished Guy's reputation, in my
yes,
book
yeah,
you can see
absolutely.
that he's really fun and like, sorry, Guy, not
Yeah,
sorry,
see now
sorry.
people are gonna know that I have a sense of humor and that I actually socialize with people, and it's like all these things I've been trying to hide all these years. But
Yeah.
no,
It's good. It's good to kind of
I'm
step
joking. Yeah,
out of the facade, right?
yeah, I'm joking. You are all.
No, I
I
know.
consider all of you close friends, and yeah, we've
So,
shared some really good
Guy, what
times.
is the name of your book? I
So
forgot for a minute. And
yeah,
is it out? What's it about?
okay, so my book, the title is "Be Extraordinary," and the title is based on words by the painter Francis Bacon, and I emphasize the painter because there was also a philosopher named Francis Bacon, that he wasn't the one, and that's important because it's a book of philosophy, but this philosophy actually comes from an artist, and in one interview he said, "It's all so meaningless. We may as well be extraordinary." Uh, and for me, as you will learn from my book and from the introduction, is I've been studying philosophy for a very, very long time. And for me, that tied immediately, as Colleen mentioned, to the philosophy of existentialism. And Colleen didn't actually use the word, but you will find the word authenticity, which is a big part of existentialism in there. And really, what he's saying is, don't look for objective meaning in the world. You have to create your own subjective meaning. Be extraordinary, be your true self. That ties to the words of another great philosopher, Friedrich Nietzsche, who's one of his key sentences, one of his core philosophical pieces of advice was become what you are. And that's actually a very big thing because becoming what you are, you have to first figure out what you are, who you are, and not everybody knows that. Um, Once you figure out who you are, you have to figure out how or if you can live as that person that you really are. And if you're an artist, then you have to also figure out how to express yourself artistically, that authentic part of you, that part that is your true self that differentiates you from other people. So to me, all of it sort of coalesced in that one little quip where it's also meaningless, meaning objectively meaningless, not that life is meaningless, obviously, because we get to make our own very profound meaning from a lot of things. And so we may as well be extraordinary. Life is short. We get to go around once. We have certain opportunities. Some of them might be risky. Some of them might involve some effort. But it's worth going through that effort to discover who you are, to experience the world as the person that you are. And if you're an artist, which I hope everybody is to at least some degree, express some of that personal meaning, some of that uniqueness, some of your own authenticity in your work, both for your own sake, because creative activities actually elevate your own experience, and you help other people. As you know, we've been bantering here before about all the great times we've been having and then the great things that we've learned from each other. And now so I think the three of them tied together, and that's sort of the thesis of my book, and it's actually the thesis of Colleen's book too. And if you read the descriptions of the book, you'll realize that they're extremely different books, right? Colleen's is a personal memoir about a very traumatic experience that she's been through, and rising from the ashes of that event. And for me, it's more a book of here's what my life philosophy is about that has guided me through it. But they're really very, very closely connected because the same philosophy that I write about is that philosophy that Colleen kind of summed up as the big life, which is a term that we've sort of come up with together very early on when we started talking about these things. So yeah, living the big life, or she says with a capital L, is really about finding your true authentic self, transcending whatever it is that life throws at you, making it all meaningful. And that's the extraordinariness that's mentioned in my book. So they're very closely connected, at least philosophically.
Wow. Yeah,
And
thank you, Guy. Oh, go ahead, Colleen.
one of the things that I'll emphasize that both Guy and I are aligned with is that this idea of be extraordinary is something that evolves over time. Like finding out who you are is not like a point on a map. It's something that you live. Like it's a choice that you make every day, every second, every decision. It's not a point that you go pursue and like one day you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I know exactly who I am and life is going to be amazing from then on out. Like there's a lot more to it, and it's really accepting, your weaknesses, accepting your strengths, embracing your strengths, accepting your situations. It's living. Being extraordinary is about living. Being authentic is about living your truth. It is not magically, declaring that you're a photographer or you're an architect or whatever that is. It's a process. It is not an end goal.
Right, right. Which I think is a great point, especially for those that are we in our society are very goal driven, and so I want to
Right.
get to this point. I want to, what's my, we've all heard that question from workshop attendees. I want to find my style. I want to find my
My
whatever,
vision.
and
Find my
it's
vision.
yeah, find my vision. It's a process. I think, Guy, there was 2 points that I wanted to make as you were talking. And I think the first one was around being authentic, and how scary it is for people. I mean, what do you say to somebody who is resistant to being authentic, or how do people overcome this fear of looking at themselves because I might not like what I see?
Well, actually, those are topics that I directly address in my book. There are literally words very, very close to that, and some pieces of advice both from me and from some famous philosophers in the book. I guess my long answer is read Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard, the Danish philosopher.
Yeah.
He wrote a book specifically about that called Either Or, and he distinguishes between what he calls being aesthetic and being ethical. Where being aesthetic is just wanting to go through life the easy way, just have fun, just get along with people, not challenge yourself too much, not consider the moral implications of what you do. And that's, everybody would fairly, well, what's wrong with just having fun and having things being easy? And so he tries to make the case that it's actually more meaningful and makes for a better life to live ethically, which is to consider very, very seriously everything that you do, including your values, including whether what you do, whether the society that you live in agrees with your personality, with the person that you really are. And one of the nicer twists in the book is he kind of draws the distinction between, oh, one is a lot easier, one's a lot harder, one involves less suffering, one involves more suffering, and you start to think, well, okay, so what's wrong with being easy and not suffering as much? And then he turns it around and he said, if you live ethically, eventually all the beauty of the aesthetic life comes back to you with more. So you get all the beauty that the easy living provides you, plus a whole lot more because you get to live as your true self. And the one probably most prominent reason that he gives for why it's important to be your true self is he said, only if you know your true self and you live as your true self can you give your true self to another person, which is the highest form of love there is. So I said, if you're not living ethically, you will never know true love because you don't know your true self. And so you can't give your true self to another person. So anyway, that book is just full of these beautiful bits of wisdom of why it's worth, even despite the challenge, despite the hardship, despite the fact that you might offend other people if your beliefs are different from theirs, why it's still worth trying to find who you are and live as you are.
Which is, thank you. Thank you for that. I think the second point to my question too is that, to live your authentic self, what if that doesn't match societal expectations or where you're at in life? I mean, how do you reconcile that?
First of all, that takes a degree of courage, but that could come across as a platitude because sometimes defying social norms can come with enormous risk. Uh, so we mentioned existential philosophy. In existential philosophy, sometimes you will find the terms like facticity. Facticity are all the things in your life that you have no control over: where you were born, what your genetic makeup is, what the color of your skin is, your sexual orientation, things that you can't change. Also, the society that you live in, the laws of the state that you live in, all these things that you can't change and that limit you in a lot of ways. Uh, and the point of existential living is not that you just go around defying things at random that you disagree with, but the point is to maximize your true self within that facticity. And
Hmm.
that effect is generally referred to as transcendence. So you take your facticity, the things that you can't change, the things in the world around you, the things that, there are some societies where you can't even admit that, I don't know, that you're gay, for example, because it might be existential threat to just admitting it. So you don't do it. That doesn't make you less authentic. But to the degree that you can, you transcend those circumstances and try to be as authentic to your true self as you can. So it's always a matter of degree. It's not just, hey, I'm just going to do whatever I want and, everyone else be darned, because that's just not possible in most societies. So it's okay to play by other people's rules if you truly feel that there's a great risk to yourself, to your well-being, to your freedom, by not doing it. But to the degree that you can within that space that you have for transcendence, take those opportunities and be as you are.
All right, thank you,
So how do you
Jack.
know? How do you know? I mean, how do you know when you, or maybe you don't, never know. I don't know. How do you know when you've reached that point that you're happy with where you are and you've attained everything that you guys just so eloquently explained? I mean, and some people maybe get there and never even realize it.
No,
Yeah.
there is no point like that for anybody. We're
Yeah.
constantly changing and evolving, so that
Yeah.
that point is a moving target. So the
It's
point
a
is,
moving target. It is.
yeah, as Aldo Leopold said that he said about environmentalism, but it applies just as much here. He said in these matters, the important thing is not to achieve, but to strive.
Yeah, and I think the
Yeah,
people who think that they got who they got, it's like saying, well, I know everything I need to know about photography now, so now
yeah.
what? Well, you never know.
No, you never know, but you just follow your calling. Maybe you reached a point in photography that you feel you want to do other things. That doesn't mean you've maximized everything you could do in photography, just that you as an individual,
We'll strive
uh,
strive to grow.
Yeah, I think it's percentage of satisfaction or percentage of happiness within your own internal being. Am I feeling content and happy? Great. All right. Well, I've achieved a state, not the state, but a state. So, Guy, when is your book coming out?
it's scheduled to come out right now it's listed as October 1st. I'm hoping it might be a little earlier, but I don't know. That's up to
Just
the
in time for Christmas.
yeah, it's up to the logistics of printing and shipping and
It's
warehousing
Rocky
and
Nook again.
yeah, it's Rocky Nook. So it's all that stuff that thankfully I don't have to deal with. I'm sure Colleen can tell you how complicated that is. So
Colleen, how do people buy your book?
The best way is to go to www.sosaidtheriver.com, and you can get a hard copy or an ebook. Of course, it's on Amazon and it's in select independent retailers now. But
Buy direct from the author.
yeah,
yeah,
actually, if I may mention this, one thing that might not be obvious is I recommend that you buy Colleen's book in print because it's just a beautiful object. It just came out, just this gorgeous, beautiful printed book.
Were there any
Which
photographs in it?
yeah, there are 75 full color photographs, and there are 6 color maps that our dear friend Bruce Hucko, he watercolor painted the backgrounds of the maps. And so the maps are absolutely stunning. So yeah, it's a visual, hopefully it's also a visual ride in addition to the text. And I did spend an enormous amount of time researching paper and just trying to get it get it right so that the photographs printed on uncoated paper. All of my guidebooks have been on coated paper. And I know this sounds really dorky, but these are the things that you have to think about when you're publishing your own book. And so I spent a lot of time with the paper, and the paper is fully recycled paper. I didn't kill any trees, and it looks like sand.
Wonderful.
Wow. Wow.
So
Anyway.
can I butt in? I just had a little light bulb go on over my head, thanks to Guy's comment about purchasing the hard copy book and tying that back to the experiential living an experiential life. And Jack has been saying for years, I don't care about the photograph, I care about the experience of being out. And both of you guys preach this as well. And I just thought about buying the hard copy book and how that enriches the experience of the story. For those of you that are old enough, buying LP records and listening to music, looking at the liner notes and the photographs on the LPs, and how the care and attention, if we go into the experience, it makes the actual act so much nicer. So for photography, right, appreciating the experience as much or more than the actual photograph.
And it actually also adds, subtle but very important sensory dimensions to, the book has a smell and a heft and a texture and the physical activity of flipping the pages. And so it makes for a much richer experience to just immerse yourself in a printed book than to just read it.
That's when people ask me about this, and they ask John too about, are you guys worried about AI in terms of photography? I don't really care. I could care less, because AI doesn't replace the smells and the wind.
Right.
Yeah. So AI, AI will replace for sure some types of professional photography because it can do it better. But that's what happens with every technology. Robots replaced a lot of manual manufacturing. That's just the nature of technology. But like you said, the creative experience, the all the tactile sensations that go with creating and consuming art, AI can't replace any of that.
Back when I was getting into photography and I was like a sponge trying to learn all this stuff, I bought the same watch, the little Timex watch that John Shaw had. I organized my camera bag just like John, because that's, and again, Guy, I'm not trying to be gratuitous, but when we started doing workshops together, I watch how people do things, and I said I would watch how you just walk away, and you just to get away for 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I said, what's he doing that for? And then I figured out what you did it for, and you're the one who really taught me that the photograph doesn't. Look at Mahler. He could care less. He had an orchestra. He had 19 French horns. He didn't care. 2 hour symphony. He didn't care. And culture. He didn't care. You buy some records. A full side of one record is you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, but also when he composed, he had his own little shack by the lake. He would just go and shut himself in there where he could actually create. Yeah.
Well, I think both of these books, though, it's quite interesting that they're both coming out within a few months of each other, and both your writings are very kind of intertwined. It's quite ironic. You didn't plan this at all, did you?
No.
Yeah. I planned for all that stuff to happen to Colleen. Don't tell her that.
Yeah, I would definitely return the compliment to Guy's book as well. I would definitely recommend getting the hardcover. His book is largely about philosophical, insight, but he has, I don't know how many photographs you have in it. Guy, how many photographs do you have?
Ooh, I don't remember. I want to say around 60, but I don't hold me to that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful. I've gotten a sneak peek of it on PDF form. It's beautifully done, and as all of his books are. The words and the photographs kind of work together, even if it's not very explicit. They do complement each other very well. So, yeah, no, I didn't really plan this. I didn't know when my book was going to come out until really the end of last year. And I knew Guy was working on his book, but at that point it was pretty early on in his process. So I don't know. We didn't
Yeah,
plan
but
it.
we were pretty involved in each other's stories, right? We've been friends throughout the period
Right.
of writing these books, and these topics came up in our conversation. So I don't think it's surprising that the themes are there.
Certainly not.
Mm-hmm.
We just do it in our own little flavor.
What's next, Colleen? What do you got going? You got more books coming? You got more trips coming?
That is an excellent question. And society would want me to have a whole slew of things planned. And I do. Like, I have workshops that I'm very, very excited about. In the next month and a half, I'm going to be going down the Grand Canyon for the 9th time in 9 years. And so that's fantastic. My favorite experience. I right now am trying to absorb the present moment. I am trying to ride the wave of the release of this book as much as I can. Just taking in the feedback from my community, the amazing feedback from my community, the stories that I'm hearing. I want to live in this moment, and I am very okay not really knowing where I'm going other than, what's on my schedule for workshops and speaking engagements and things like that, which I'm very much looking forward to. But right now I'm really happy just absorbing, taking this all in. And I think that's something society, we like to spend a lot of time thinking about the past. We like to spend a lot of time worrying about the future. And for me, I'm just kind of trying to do it a little differently than I've done before. Is just really kind of be surrounded by this accomplishment in this moment and celebrating it with my community.
But you do have some workshops scheduled, and if people want to
Sure.
partake of them, your website is
Yeah.
deal with that?
So my website is www.colleenminiuk.com. It's COLLEENMINIUK. And I have, I have my 2024 workshops. The rest of the year are sold out, but I'm just now starting the early notifications for my 2025 workshops. So I've got a full schedule. Looking forward to it. It'll be amazing. So
Highly recommend it.
Yep.
Guy, what are you up to other than writing?
Well, I guess it's the same answer, but with a different twist, is that I also don't know what's next for me, but I do know that I will probably be veering away from photography a little bit, without going into too much detail. I've been through several pretty rough years, and I'm starting a lot of things fresh now. And among these things, I'm realizing that for all these years, I've always had these ideas in my head of things that I wanted to do that I always thought maybe I'll do someday. I might want to write a book of philosophy. I might want to write poetry. I might want to. Anyway, I have a long list of those that have always been on the back burner. And now that life has given me a little jolt, I think I'm gonna try to follow up on some of those and just see where it takes me.
Well, a lot of people are going to want to know, so you'll keep everybody posted on your website, I assume.
For sure. Yeah, I'll have webcams on me 24/7. Yeah.
Yeah,
cam.
no.
Yeah.
That would be outstanding.
Yeah. Well, maybe not 24/7, maybe an hour.
Maybe take a couple hours a day
Be
for
like
myself. Yeah.
reality TV at its best.
Mhm.
Well, at any rate, I just think it's great that you both have these books. Colleen's is out, and
Yeah.
Guy's will be out soon. Guy, are there pre-orders on your book?
Yeah, there's a pre for US customers. They can pre-order from my website, and I will ship signed copies, or you can pre-order from Amazon, pretty much anywhere in the world.
Okay. Well, John, you want to anything we left out here?
No, I think I actually just one question going back to living an experiential life and tying that to photography and your and Guy's little comment about when Guy used to walk away for 30 seconds or a minute. Um, Guy, could you expand on that? Number one, why you did that, and then for both of you, I'd like to hear you say how can people who are listening to this take away one little nugget of how to be or practice more experiential stuff and how that may or may not impact their photography.
Sure. So I touch on that in the book, but in a word, the reason is mindfulness. And mindfulness, definition of mindfulness is bringing your attention to things that are happening in the present moment, to aspects of your real-time experience. And it's really hard to do because your brain constantly is distracted by a lot of things. You worry about things.
Squirrel.
Squirrel,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but not just that. It's like, oh, I should have done this. I should have done that.
Oh yeah.
My tax day is coming. I have an appointment here. I have this. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. There's a lot of things just buzzing in your head. But if you can find a way to just get into your headspace for a little bit, remind yourself where you are, try to consciously push out some of these distractions out of your brain, try to pay attention to things that are happening right there, the temperature, the smells, the sounds of the animals. You just bring yourself fully to that moment. Suddenly you will realize, A, that you're feeling better, and B, that your creative juices start working, because as you notice everything around you, those are the raw materials that we make our work from. Or if we're teaching, then suddenly you realize, hey, this is something that I should alert my students to, and have them pay attention to that, and have them try to think about it and do something with that. So for me, it's very helpful, and it doesn't take much, but partly because I've been practicing this type of meditation for a while, is I just need to get to a place where I can just, count my breath a few times, look around, get completely mindful of where I am, bring myself to the present moment, try to push out, become aware of things that are distracting me, put them out of my mind, and I'm in a much better place after that.
Wonderful.
I absolutely agree with that, Guy. And if I can expand, for me and my journey, it was a head game. Like, it was about paying attention to the voices in my head, the things that I was telling myself, the fears that basically you just need to get out of your own way. Like, so I have a part in my book on chapter 17 that I'll read really quick. We mistake thoughts for truth. Nope, let me start over. Hang on. We mistake thoughts for truths. Thoughts are not facts. They are malleable. If I believe the negative thoughts which my brain had made up, then I could believe the positive ones which my brain would also make up just the same. And so it sounds really simple, but just being mindful of the things that you are telling yourself, and what you're afraid of, what you expect, what excites you, like all of those things can be kind of massaged a little bit to be more productive for you. And that was for me. It was all of the negative thoughts in my head were really preventing me from living a fulfilled life. I was living a successful life in many definitions, but I was not living a fulfilled one. And once I kind of got out of my own way, like things got put on a pretty good channel. Like they ended up on a different track. And so I would absolutely agree with Guy's assessment in terms of meditation and mindfulness and just paying attention to yourself.
And if I may add just a little bit to that, is you'd think that, hey, at some point I'm going to remember to make myself mindful. That a lot of times it doesn't work because you're distracted. So like Jack said, every time that I'm out, every time that I'm about to do something, I take this little extra time. When you turn it into a ritual, into a habit, you don't forget. It's like, well, every time before I start this kind of activity, I take a few seconds to do that. And then you never forget. Your muscle memory tells you, hey, now is the time to go. Take that little break.
Yeah. And even as something as simple as Jack has told the story numerous times of leave your camera in your camera bag and just walk around. That's a very simple thing to do. Give yourself 5 minutes of walking around before you get your camera out, and hopefully you can better connect with your environment, connect with yourself, and maybe produce more connective photographs,
But
or at least have a richer experience.
I'll give Colleen another nod here, because I think she actually makes it into an exercise in her workshop where she tells people to go and compose things without the camera, and only then go back and get the camera.
Yeah.
So we're playing with semantics here, but in my opinion, it's very important. I don't go out for my own personal photographs. I don't go on photo shoots. I go on for a hike. I go for a paddleboard. I go for a camping trip, whatever. And the camera just comes with me. So my workshops are a little bit of an anomaly in that we go like at sunrise or at sunset, dedicated to photography, but that's kind of, the purpose and the exercise. But when we get there, it's kind of releasing those expectations that you're going to make a photograph. And that feels counterintuitive, right? It feels counterintuitive that, you know, you should be trying to make a photograph. And actually it turns out that you block your creative energy by forcing it. And so it's actually more likely to evolve. Photograph is more likely to evolve if you just relax and let your brain do it. It knows what to do and how to do it, and you enjoy the experience. Like, you tend to get much richer, more meaningful photographs that way.
Well, you know, I think photo workshops, again, I've been doing this, we've all been doing this for a lot of years. If you're not careful, can actually be counterproductive to your photography growth, because you know, people go on these thinking they're going to come home and they're going to be, you know, infinitely better photographers. And, you know, that's up to the individual. You know, you know, the four of us, we tell people, slow down, slow down, slow down. We get in a workshop, we get to a location, we go, okay, we're here for an hour. So,
You
you know,
got 10 minutes. Yeah.
I think the outgrowth of watching successful people like you guys, and like I noticed with Guy when he took that 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what you learn, man. It's not how to turn this dial on the camera. It's
And Jack, if I may, I want to also give a little plug to my good friend and Colleen, good friend Michael Gordon.
absolutely.
Yeah, Michael and I have been teaching workshops for a long time, and I will cease offering workshops after this year, but Michael will continue to do that. And that's always been an important aspect of our workshops, is when we design our day, our schedule, we are never in a rush. We always get there with plenty of time. If people want to wander, if people want to sit on a
Yep.
rock and just look at things for a few minutes, we have plenty of time to do that. We pretty much just say we're going to be here for this amount of time. When you're ready, you can start hiking back. No pressure, no rush. Don't have to be there, you know, exactly for the right light and the right thing. It's just we're just out there.
Yeah.
John does the same thing. John and I do the same thing, and
Same. Yeah.
that's important. It's really important, you know. But we have to get Michael on here. Maybe the next time
Yeah.
we'll have the five of us. We'll have five people.
Ah, there we go.
Well, I just got it today, this morning. He just published his newest book, Denizens.
The
And
Denizens, yeah.
it's gorgeous. Yeah, I
Yeah.
haven't had a whole lot of time to go through every single page and every single word, but my first impression of it is that it is absolutely fantastic.
We'll put him
So,
on the list, John. I'll call Michael when we're done here. Maybe we can get him
Yeah.
on. Well,
Yeah,
thank
and
you. You know, you guys are great.
well, wait, I got a question for you guys. What's
Uh-oh.
next for you guys? What are you guys up to?
John, go ahead.
Well, workshops starting back up again. I'm off to the Palouse during harvest time, which is fun, and then off to Greenland for a new experience. So living aboard a boat for 6 days, sailing amongst the icebergs, and this is kind of one of my YOLO moments of getting out and doing something I've wanted to do for years and years and years. So I'm looking forward to that experience.
Got a little tip. When you're on the boat, don't
Yeah.
take a 30-second walk off to the left.
Yeah, okay. No, I'll just go sit at the end.
Yeah.
No,
if you
it'll
get
be
wet,
it'll be
you've gone too
nice.
far. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm you know, I backed my schedule off. I've got some medical issues going on, as you guys know. But you know, let's see. I'm going up to the UP in September with Bill Fortney and a couple other people. I never got to really shoot that up there. It's always been a workshop for years and years and years. So we're going to go up to the Upper Peninsula in the fall, and I'll enjoy that. And then let's see. I'm back. I'm you know, back in the Eastern Sierra with John. John, do we have any room on that? Or is that sold out?
No, we don't.
Sold
Nope.
out. And then I'm back at Whidbey Island for the art school. I'm going to do a minimalistic landscape photography event
Nice.
in November, and then I've got Olympic with a group after that, and then I'm home for the holidays. So
Oh, and then the Tetons, we have the Tetons.
yeah, we have the Tetons in
Yep.
December. So you know, it's all good. We're all busy. You know, I hate to say this, and I love what I do because I love teaching. And this is a funny thing to say, John. Don't take this the wrong way. I still want you to. If I
Uh-oh.
make another dime in the photography business, luckily in my life, it's not going to change my lifestyle.
Mm.
And I do what I do because I love what I do. We get done in here today. I've got take my yellow lab swimming in a pool in Knoxville, and then I'll come home and I don't know what I'll listen to, but I'll listen to some music tonight. And again, this is how I see my life being fulfilled. And I'm reasonably happy. I finally gotten to that point myself. But a lot of it has to do with the people I hang out with, and the three of you, especially, and some other people. And Michael, we got to get Michael on. He's the best.
Yeah, we will.
So
Yeah, I mean, that's the bliss and the privilege that we all have as kind of free birds, right? We get to decide in every moment what we do with our lives. And I think among the four of us, we do our very best in our own ways to live a, purposeful life and trying to make a difference in people's lives. We're only here for a short time, but Guy probably knows the exact philosopher who said life is long if you know how to use it. Who said that? Is that Seneca? Who is
Seneca.
that?
Yeah, Seneca.
Seneca, yeah. So life is long if you know how to use it. And I think we're all trying to do, our best with the time that we have. And that's, honored to know you guys. And
yeah.
Likewise, anything. I just want to mention, when we say things like that, people say, well, you just got lucky. But for all of us, I think getting to this point took a lot of risks and effort, and in some cases, tragedies. And we brought ourselves to this point. It didn't just fall in our laps. And I think it's
a lot of work. You
That's
forgot to
part of
mention
the
work.
Yeah, but that's
Yes.
part of that theme where it's easy to assume, well, this person just, has it better, and I can't do it myself. But you'll never know until you try.
Yeah.
John mentioned it earlier in this podcast. It's a growth mindset. There's a lot of things that are going to happen, but how are you going to evolve from that, for better or worse? And there's no right answers. There's lots of right answers. There's not one single, convergent versus divergent thinking. And I think we all realize that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of options for us and others.
Contrary to popular culture, there is no magic pill. There is no
No.
one
Right.
pill that's going to get us there.
Yeah,
There's no easy button.
Nope.
Nope.
And the
No.
funny thing is, the people who do get the easy buttons, a lot of times they don't get it very easy. Even when they get it, when they can afford and do and have all the time in the world to do whatever they want,
correct.
they end up being very unhappy. So
True.
Like people who win the lotto, like big lotteries, there's so much tragedy and you think that that's going to be your magic key to happiness is a lot of money, and it ends up being very, very awful. So yeah, it's, fulfillment isn't something, it's not based on external sources, despite what society tries to tell us. It's not in the form of a house. It's not actually in the form of a relationship. It's not it's not these external material goods or how you look and things like that. It is within us all the
it's
time.
something you have to make for yourself.
Right. And those things like houses and relationships can add to our joy and our fulfillment, but they are not going to be the magic keys. And so we bring, I think Guy mentioned it earlier, is we bring that juice to our own lives. Like we are responsible for that.
Well, I've got a lot of reading to do. I've got 2 books.
Yes, you do.
And Michael's
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, it looks like we should probably wrap this up. So, listeners, I will post the links to Colleen's books and Guy's website on wetalkphoto.com. Jack, any final thoughts?
No, it's just an honor to have
Yes.
you guys here, and
For us too.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
it's
it's always
been
a
an
joy
honor.
talking with you all of you.
Wonderful. All right, folks, if you have any questions, comments, wetalkphoto@gmail.com. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and go have a beautiful experience.
Here's to the big life.
Be
Yeah,
extraordinary.
yeah.
All right. Bye.
See ya.